Hello everyone, welcome to Guild Wars 2. My name is Professor Ethical and I'm going to be your guide today. This video is a Zero to Hero guide. How can you get from your immediate purchase of the game or a free account to endgame raids and content? Well, this video is for you. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different and I'm going to put the Tldr right at the beginning. So hold your horses and we'll break it down as easy as possible first and then continue into the details. So first of all, Guild Wars 2 is different in the fact that it has a horizontal progression system as opposed to a vertical. And what does that mean? Well, usually vertical progression is level 20, level 30, level 40, level 50. And then with a campaign it goes level 60, level 70. And then another campaign is level 80 and so on and so forth. With Guild Wars 2, there is one max level, and once you reach that, that is it. You are able to do all of the content throughout the game. So, coming to that Tldr, what is the fastest way? If you purchase End of Dragons or the Ultimate Collection, you will get a level 80 boost within that purchase, which is fantastic because it's actually a trial. So you can run around as level 80, see if you like that character, and if you don't, you just remake the character before you use up that scroll, and once you've used that scroll, then it's permanent. So if you're not sure where to start, that will get you to level 80. Once you're at level 80, you buy exotic armor, except with the level 80 scroll, you actually get that armor. So the Tldr, what is the fastest way to get from nothing to endgame content? Well, if you purchase End of Dragons or the collection, you will get a level 80 scroll for free, which boosts your character immediately to level 80 with full exotic gear and some added freebies. This is the fastest way, and boom, you are ready for endgame content. Now all you need to do is find out where it is. In Lion's Arch, you can go to the aerodrome that will teleport you to all of the raids, and that's the Tldr. It'll take 2 minutes. 5 minutes max, once you've made your character. I wouldn't recommend it, as there are some caveats to boosting your character. So first of all, if you are new and coming with a free account, you will not have access to this level 80 boost. However, you can buy it in their gem store for 2,000 gems, which comes to about $25 or euros or whatever currency you use. This would be the second fastest way. Of course, you do not want to boost, especially on your first character. But coming back to those caveats, why would you not want to boost your character to level 80 and get straight into it? Well, Guild Wars 2 has a mastery system, and as I mentioned before, the horizontal learning curve to this game is that once everyone hits 80, you all work together on other items. So these masteries are things like poison resistance, or being able to open specific chests, access to stronger and faster mounts. There are multiple masteries in the game, and unfortunately, once you begin raiding, you will find very quickly that you need some of these masteries. But you boost it, so now you know nothing about the game. You don't know where to go, what to level, and this is why I wouldn't recommend boosting to level 80, but each to their own. So what about leveling normally? What's the fastest way? Well, Guild Wars 2 has a really neat system where everything you do matters. That includes farming items, killing mobs, collecting herbs, doing events, doing story. Anything that you do will give you experience in this game, and of course some are better than others. For instance, farming mobs during a festival can be quite lucrative, as the mobs never stop and the XP never stops. Mix that with some boosts and very quickly you'll have a level 80 character. Unfortunately, we did just finish one of our festivals, so the next festival is not till Halloween, and you're playing today. So, what are your other options? You can of course do dailies, and these dailies take place all over the world. It could be killing a certain mob, it could be collecting certain herbs, it could be killing a certain boss. There's a few different dailies. There's PvE, PvP, and World v World dailies, all of which are quite useful in their own ways. If you do World v World and PvP, you will gain potions that extend your rank in those areas. If you do PvE dailies, you will get writs of experience in which you will be able to level your character faster. This is something you can do every day. Aside from that, there is metas, which are big map-wide events, and there are just minute-to-minute events throughout the maps. So as you play the game, you will see events pop up all around you. Completing these will give you a little boost of XP, and they're quite useful. On top of that, there is also different boosts you can use. So buffs that can give you extra XP. So these potion boosts, there's gem store boosts, though you really don't want to spend money on those. There's also food and utilities. Now food can be anything from garlic bread to cheeseburgers to souffle oysters, and they all give different benefits like better healing, more damage, and so on and so forth. But every food will give you a boost to XP. Not only that, utilities are things like sharpening stones that make your weapons more deadly. They are very useful to get into the habit of using. Not only that, a lot of them are extremely cheap, and you can buy them directly off the trading post, so it is worth using them. My personal favorite though, especially if you're just starting out, is to do map completion. So explore the map, find events as you're going, and as you explore these areas, you're also getting XP along with everything else as you do events, as you kill. And when you get 100% map completion in the game, you get 2 items which help to make legendaries. This is very useful later on, and as you work on your first character, this will help in the long run, so I do recommend it. As you level up, you will get mails from the in-game characters to do dungeons and to follow the personal story of your character. I'll be honest, it's been 10 years. These are still not great. They take a while to complete. They offer very little rewards. The expansion stories have certainly evolved from there, and they're a welcome addition to the lore. You will get mails in-game to talk about doing dungeons at low levels, but dungeons have quite a steep learning curve, and while it could be useful to get XP from them, it can be quite difficult to find groups normally. Once again, the time and commitment, it's not really worth it. So fastest way, level 80 scroll. Most efficient way, I think, map completion. And my final bit of advice for leveling is really anything below level 80 is pretty much a walk in the park. You can run in with any stat combination you want, any weapons, really anything at all is fine up until you hit level 80, and then you need to actually think about your character and the gear. So let's move on to that section, gearing. Well, pre-level 80, any armor that you find on the ground or off monsters or crafting, all of it's fine. I wouldn't bother to buy any off the trading post or anything like that. Just run around where there's the biggest group of people and you will survive. But once you hit level 80, you're going to need some gear. First and foremost, if you used a boost, you automatically get level 80 gear and weapons, and you don't need to worry about it. But if you worked your way up, the best way is to just buy directly off the trading post. Now, you can sort by price and choose armor and weapons that suit your style, and if you want to look for specific stats, you can also do that. But until you're following specific builds, again, I wouldn't really worry too much. One other thing that the level 80 boost does is also give you particular size bags, and if you're running around killing, you're going to want to carry a lot more. Personally, 15, 18 slot bags are very cheap on the trading post, so I do recommend that you buy them off the trading post. However, be aware that in order to buy more bags for your characters, every character starts out with a certain number of bags, and as you buy them and equip them, you can take out a 5 slot bag and put in a 10 slot bag, and that's fine. There's no issue there. However, if you want to have 20 bags instead of 5 bags, then you're going to need to pay gems for that, and that can be quite costly, especially as this is per character. It is bad. So at the time of recording, 15 slot bags are about 1 gold something, and 18 slot bags are about 2 gold something, closer to 3 gold. Now, the next bag up from that is a 20 slot bag, and that is about 10 gold plus. So that can be quite expensive, and I recommend just starting off with 15 to 18 slot bags until you kind of know what you're doing. You really don't need too much storage space in this game, thankfully. So now that you're geared, you've got your bags, you've got your weapons, you've got your armor, and you're level 80. What can you do? Where can you go? Earlier on I mentioned dungeons and how you should avoid them while you're leveling. Well, now is the good time to do them. There's a story mode involved in the dungeons which follows the main heroes, and after that you can run the dungeons again in different paths, and they provide additional story, though unrelated. Players tend to run these explorable paths in order to gain tokens. These dungeon tokens, you trade them in for specific runes and sigils that are used in endgame builds, so it can be quite useful to run them once you're level 80. Though it can be sometimes hard to find a group for dungeons. Now the endgame content that you'll hear often is strikes and raids. So strikes are raids without the story, essentially. You enter the strike, kill the boss, and then collect your loot. That's it. Whereas raids are longer, they have a story attached. You would often have to do events within that raid, and of course raids are a little bit more difficult than strikes. Strikes, quite easy to get into. It helps you to learn the composition of the different teams, and strikes can be quite lucrative as well to help you with gold generation. Now, strikes and raids can be done with exotics, but it is some of the hardest content in the game, and without understanding your class, the compositions and stats in general, you're going to be a detriment to people that are working on endgame content. So if you want to get into raids, you're going to want to upgrade that exotic armor into either Ascended or Legendary. So when you go from exotic to Ascended, you get about a 5 to 10% difference in your stats, which may not seem like a lot, but it does help. And then from Ascended to Legendary, there is no stat difference. However, Legendary items, you can change their stats at will with no problem. With exotics, you would have to buy brand new gear. With Ascended, you can convert the stats that you don't like into something else, but I'll come back on that. Exotic, you can buy off the trading post. Raids gives you legendary armor, but what about Ascended? Well, Ascended comes from a place called Fractals of the Mists. So these fractals are broken into tiers, there's progressive advancement, and honestly it's one of the biggest moneymakers in the game, so you should certainly give your time to fractals. However, they can get quite grindy. As you complete different fractals, your account will advance, and you can do higher and higher fractals, but with that requires a need for agony resistance. And in order to get agony resistance, you need to use an item called Infusions, and Infusions can only be slotted in to an Ascended item. Now, as you do fractals, you will most likely have Ascended items drop for you. It'll start off easy with some rings, some earrings, but very rarely you can get a weapon or armor drop. But of course, this is rare. So fractals may not be the best place to get Ascended weapons or armor, but I will cover that in a moment. Now, once you do have Ascended armor and accessories, you have to equip them with agony infusions in order to survive those later levels. And the reason that you want to do this is that is where most of your money comes from. Now, you can start off by crafting the +1, +2, +3 infusions. However, you can also buy these infusions from the trading post, and I do recommend just buying your +8s and your +9s. You generally don't need any larger than that, as it can get quite expensive. And trust me, you can recoup your money in a single day, so it is worth it. There are different types of infusions as well, not just agony infusions, but stat infusions, which make your character a little bit stronger. But once more, these are very expensive and only add about 3% damage to your stats, so not really worth it unless you got gold to burn. You'll also find some of the shiniest characters in the game using infusions. Now, you can buy stat infusions from the Laurel vendor, which is another currency, but this can be quite a waste, as these are standalone infusions and you can't recraft them into anything else, so most times not worth it. There are also World v World infusions, and if you're interested in that game mode, then that is a good place to pick those up. Now the shiniest players in the game will use an infusion called a Cosmetic Aura. So these cosmetics are immensely expensive and so freaking rare that you may not see one drop through all of your time playing this game. So again, try not to worry about infusions too much. And I'm really only scratching the tip of the iceberg there. Coming back to Fractals though, the different tiers, you will be leveling up little by little. So the first tier can be quite messy, tiers 2 and 3 are a little bit slower, but tier 4 runs all day. Someone is always doing T4s and the recommended dailies, as these provide the most gold. There is also Fractal challenge modes, which are very challenging by design. You tend to not want to jump into these, and it's recommended that you get a guild or some friends and work on it together. So, back to the Ascended gear. As I mentioned, Fractals is a great place to collect them, but there are better ways, and you want to know the fastest way, which is why you're here watching this video. Now, with Guild Wars 2, between the campaigns, they have something called the Living World story, which bridges the gap between them. If you complete every single Living World story, including the achievements that are connected to them, you will get a free legendary amulet. This means that you can stat swap at any point with that item. It is highly recommended to do this, as it will be your first legendary. It's also free. It just costs your time to complete. And because it is free, you do not have to spend any gold. All you have to do is finish those achievements and you get the item. That's it. It is so good. Moving on. Now, if you don't want to go for that legendary amulet, you are still going to need to play the Living World, as completing them will give you currency that you can trade in for Ascended amulets and accessories. So first of all, Bloodstone Fen has blood rubies. Blood ruby trinkets I highly recommend, as the stat change for them is crazy cheap. If you go to Jorah Marches, you can pick up a cheap amulet and accessory. However, you do have to complete some achievements in order to unlock them, so that can be a little bit slower. Not only that, but Bitterfrost's Frontier is fantastic for winterberries farming, which you can turn in for some trinkets, but there's better things to spend it on. And coming back to Fractals again, there's also items called Mist Trinkets, which actually come from Fractals, PvP, and World v World, though the cheapest is probably Fractals. Now, of course, the cheapest Ascended amulet that you can get can actually be bought from the trading post. You actually buy all of the components and craft them together, and you get an Ascended amulet. And the grand total of this is about 22 gold at the time of this recording, though it could shoot up, so be mindful. Now that the trinkets are covered, we want to talk about armor and weapons. So the most important thing you need to know about Ascended gear is that you can change the stats on it, though it comes at a small cost. So for instance, if you're playing as a damage dealer and you get some healing stats, but you don't want that, well, that's okay, because you can change that. Now, if you want to make your Ascended armor through crafting, you can absolutely do that, though your first set might run you up a bit, at about 300 gold, because you have to buy the expensive recipes. You'll also have to level up your crafting, and of course this additional cost seems like a lot. However, when you go to craft your next set of armor, you'll save money because you don't have to level your crafting again, and you own those recipes. So a follow-up set of armor would only cost you about 100 gold. Once again, if you are playing Fractals, you may get some of these as a drop, which can be extremely helpful. Now, you won't be able to change medium Ascended into a heavy Ascended, or vice versa, and this is true with the weapons as well. For example, you can't turn an Ascended pistol into a shield, but you can also change their stats. Now, one way to get Ascended weapons is doing a specialization collection. These are locked behind the campaigns, and you do need to be max level for these. Not only that, but you do have to put in a lot of work in order to complete them, from killing specific bosses to completing certain events. When it comes to weapons, crafting is usually your best bet. I recommend looking at the prices of all of the Ascended, finding which one is the cheapest to make, and then just stat change to the stats that you want. It's not going to save you a lot of gold, but it is going to stop you from purchasing recipe after recipe, which can put you back quite a lot. And there you have it, folks. That is the fastest way from a zero to a hero that you can accomplish. I'm going to wrap this up with another Tldr, and that is build your character, do events, do map completion, hit level 80, Buy exotics from the trading post. Start your endgame content with dungeons and fractals, and once you have experience and some ascended gear, that's when I would go into strikes and raids. By completing the endgame content in this order, you will actually become a much better player. So when you get to those endgame raids, you will know exactly what you are doing. Hope you all found this video very informative, and I look forward to helping you in-game. Take care, everyone. So I waited before publishing this video to see if the Steam release added anything extra, and I'm glad I did, because they added a new character adventure guide. Now this is per character. If you're level 80, you'll get very little XP. However, if you are under level 80, you're going to get a lot of XP from these. And you're looking at some pretty basic stuff, such as healing, reviving, killing enemies, completing events. These are all things that you will do normally as you do map completion. So now, leveling via world completion is also faster once again.